In the quiet village of Ekongthepython, everyone knew Mary, the only daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Effiong. She was beautiful, lively, and full of energy, but her greatest weakness was disobedience. No matter how often her parents warned her, Mary refused to listen. "Mary, don't go roaming around the village like a stray goat. Stay at home and help your mother," her father would say. But Mary only rolled her eyes. Instead of staying at home, she spent her time moving from house to house, peeping into people's compounds, and picking things that didn't belong to her. Sometimes it was a cooking spoon, sometimes a wrapper drying in the sun, and sometimes food left unattended. The villagers had already nicknamed her Mary the Wanderer. Mothers often warned their children, "Keep your things well, or Mary will carry it." Her parents were ashamed, but what could they do? Each time they scolded her, she promised to change, only to repeat the same thing the next day. But one afternoon, Mary's stubbornness led her to a place she had been warned never to go: the provision shop of Dr. Okon, the native doctor. Dr. Okon's shop was unlike the others in the community. While others sold biscuits, sweets, curry, and matches, his store was different. Villagers whispered that he mixed charms with his goods, especially after a thief once stole a bottle of groundnut oil from him and later returned, screaming, with the bottle glued to his head. But Mary never listened to such warnings. That fateful day, her eyes landed on a loaf of bread lying on the wooden counter of Dr. Okon's shop. The bread looked fresh, soft, and bigger than any bread she had ever seen. Hunger burned in her stomach, and greed blinded her. She glanced left and right. No one was watching. Quietly, she stretched her hand, grabbed the bread, and dashed out of the shop. "Foolish girl," Dr. Okon muttered under his breath, watching her run. "She has carried her punishment with her." Mary laughed as she hurried away, clutching the bread tightly. But before she reached the village square, something strange happened. Her hand refused to let go of the bread. She tried dropping it, but the loaf was glued to her palm. The more she struggled, the heavier it became. By the time she reached the middle of the square, the bread had doubled in size, dragging her hand down as villagers gathered around, laughing and mocking her. "Look at Mary the thief," one boy shouted. "Bread has married her hand," another laughed. The once beautiful girl became the center of ridicule. Children followed her around, clapping and singing. "Mary thief, Mary thief. Bread don't catch 'em, sticky thief." Her mother, hearing the noise, rushed out, only to faint when she saw her daughter dragging a mighty loaf of bread stuck to her hand. Mr. Effiong was called from the farm, and when he arrived, shame covered his face. "Mary, how many times did I warn you?" he cried, tears filling his eyes. But it was too late. The villagers mocked not just Mary but her entire family. The Effiongs, once respected, now became the laughingstock of Ekongthepython. In the midst of the noise, Dr. Okon appeared, his red cap shining under the sun, his staff in hand. The crowd fell silent. "Mary," he said calmly, "you stole from my shop. That bread carries my charm. Until sacrifices are made, the loaf will never leave your hand." Gasps filled the air. Mary trembled, her heart pounding like a drum. Her parents fell on their knees, begging. But Dr. Okon only shook his head slowly. The next morning, the entire village gathered at Dr. Okon's shrine. Mary sat in the middle, her hand swollen from carrying the loaf all night. She had not slept, nor eaten, and her face was filled with tears. Dr. Okon placed the calabash before her parents. "If you want your daughter free, you must bring a white goat, palm oil, and 7,000 naira for cleansing." Mr. Effiong's voice cracked. "Where will we find such money? We are poor farmers." "That is not my business," Dr. Okon replied firmly. "Until then, the bread remains." The villagers whispered. Some mocked, others pitied, but all agreed that Mary had brought shame upon herself and her family. At last, her parents sold their only piece of farmland to buy the goat and the other items. The sacrifice was done, and Dr. Okon chanted incantations. Suddenly, the loaf dropped from Mary's hand with a heavy thud, turning into ashes before everyone. Mary screamed and collapsed in relief. But her parents' tears did not stop. They had lost their land, their dignity, and their peace, all because of their daughter's stubbornness. From that day, Mary never disobeyed again. Whenever she passed the square, children still teased her, "Bread girl, bread girl." But she kept her head down, a painful reminder of the cost of disobedience. And so, the story of Mary and the cursed bread became a warning to every child in Ekongthepython. Disobedience and greed always lead to shame. Moral lessons for every parent. Consistent discipline is necessary. Children need correction and discipline early in life. If a child constantly disobeys without firm consequences, it can grow into shame for the whole family. Never ignore small bad habits. What starts as just picking little things can grow into stealing and greater sins. Parents should correct even the smallest signs of dishonesty in their children. Train children with love and guidance. Guidance should not only be through scolding but also through love, teaching, and prayer. A child that is well-nurtured and mentored has fewer chances of straying. Be watchful of where your children go. A child who roams without control easily falls into temptation. Parents must know where their children are, what they do, and who they associate with. Parental neglect brings public shame. When children are not guided properly, their mistakes affect not only them but also the family's reputation. Parents must understand that raising a child is a serious responsibility. Invest time, not just resources. Some parents only provide food and school fees but fail to spend time shaping their children's character. Character training is more valuable than material provision. Prayer is key in parenting. Beyond discipline, parents should commit their children to God in prayer, asking for wisdom to raise them well and protection from temptation. Dear viewer, if you enjoyed this story and learned something from it, don't just watch and go. Click the subscribe button right now, and join our growing family of story lovers. Turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next inspiring story. And if this story touched you, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories your way. Check out our other contents like The Mortuary Water,